still showing transmit, but there you go. Okay. So in 2014, Norfolk County launched the development of its next generation parks, facilities, and recreation master plan. As part of this initiative, a separate feasibility study was to be undertaken on the future directions and alternatives associated with the longer-term potential renewal, replacement, and development of 3 of the larger recreational facilities within the county. The focus of the feasibility study is on the Simcoe Adult Community Center, the Simcoe Recreation Center, and the Talbot Gardens Arena, all located in the Simcoe urban area of the county. That quote is taken from the feasibility study conducted in 2014. From January 2019 to March 2020, this Recreational Facility Advisory Board worked with staff to provide the best advice to council on the location and the facilities for a multi-use recreational facility to replace these aging buildings within certain prerequisites. In the summer of 2020, the Norfolk County Community Center, or HUB, the application for Investing in Canada Infrastructure Program for Community, Culture and Recreation fell short. COVID-19 has changed much. What has not changed, though, is the need identified in 2014 to address Norfolk's aging Simcoe recreational facilities. The master plan is the foundational guide to addressing the needs of the county. I consider it, the feasibility study and the situational analysis to be a solid framework by which the county can understand the recreational needs of residents. Perhaps it's time they're updated to reflect changing populations, changing work habits, and the recognized importance of recreation on the mental health and well-being of both our children and ourselves. Because we failed to meet the cut on a heavily oversubscribed funding opportunity, we cannot abandon our efforts to improve the recreation services available within the county. We need to analyze both what went right, what has changed within the county, and come up with a strong plan B that can become the playbook when we have another opportunity for funding. This board could play a key role in shaping parks and recreation in the entire county if the mandate is granted. Let's see what we can talk about today. First on the next list here is the approval of the agenda and changes to today's agenda. Can I have a motion to approve the last agenda minutes?
I do.
I'll
All right, and Ian seconds, all in favor?
Yes.
Aye.
All right, we have ayes and hands all around. Any changes to today's agenda to be proposed? Okay. Looking for an update from staff on the Plan B Recreational Long-Term Capital Plan. We don't seem to have any staff on hand here. Is there any staff, Jacob, going to join us today?
The only staff that I have heard from is Shelley, and she had she's not available today. I believe she's not working. So there may be staff that join us in the next few minutes. But as for right now, Shelley's the only one that I know that will not be able to join us.
Okay. We were going to ask a question to staff about what staff's plan was with respect to the master plan and rebuilding a Plan B. Do we have anything to discuss in the absence of having any staff with us here? Amy?
Maybe I could just share some information and highlight some of the budget discussions that happened. We sat down to address the capital plan for this year, and some juggling of potential capital assets was suggested to make repairs in one spot instead of another. At one point, there was a brief discussion about relocating the pool to Delhi, building new, not repairing what we have in Simcoe. The end result was that we had a discussion that our fab was not engaged, the terms of reference were not updated, and that it felt like a piecemeal approach, and there was no motion or resolution passed at council during budget. So we are still continuing with the one-off repairs that are scheduled in our 10-year capital plan right now with no real path forward. I can comment that the mayor and Andy and I believe Mr. Burgess, they did articulate that they were waiting for our fab to expand on the terms of reference and come back to them. So I don't think there is a plan B. I don't think there is a major direction just based on how our budget has unfolded for the capital plan anyways, but I can certainly just report back that they are waiting for expanded terms of reference from this group.
Any further discussion there? One thing I did notice as I was reviewing the feasibility study was that they, back in 2014, there was an allotted $5-point-something million allocated towards improving the recreational facilities on the fairgrounds for between, I think it was 2015 and 2023. Amy, have you got any idea how much of that has been spent? What improvements have been spent between 2015 and now?
No, I don't, but I think that's a great question because without a plan, even though we had a plan and it was unsuccessful, now we're back into a position where we don't have a plan. So I think that might be a really great argument for this board to leverage what has been spent already. What has it cost the taxpayers to not have a plan, to not progress forward with our big picture vision? So maybe that's a motion that we want to pass here today to ask staff to produce those numbers. What types of capital repairs have been spent since this, our last report came out, the feasibility study and whatnot, to just demonstrate without a big picture, we're chipping away at things without the vision, and it is costing the taxpayer.
Yeah, we definitely have a plan. We just don't have an action towards it. And of course, that plan is now 6-7 years old. So we need to update it. The thing I did like about the frameworks was that, that a lot of the numbers could be updated and the analysis could be regenerated fairly quickly to provide that updated report. So I think that's good. If there's any further discussion on that, Ian, Gord, Sue?
Well, from my perspective, I think, and I outlined that in my previous memos over the last couple of days, I certainly think that there's a lot of merit in our fab going back and reviewing all three documents in detail and determining how much value is in there, how much needs to be updated. Certainly, inflationary factors must be adjusted, but then come to a decision as to whether or not simply updating something like that, or perhaps if that isn't sufficient in the minds of everyone, then make a recommendation possibly to go ahead with a new master plan approach, which obviously is going to be much more expensive than doing an update. So, but I think it could be done in concert. Go through, do a review on the update. And if that isn't enough, then go to the next move. But, that's going to take time. And therein lies another question and another dilemma, I suppose. But from my perspective, we have lacked an overriding strategy. And if we take on a mandate that's expanded on a role, I think that's the way we should go more strategically. And I think undertaking the review of those background reports and documents is essential.
I would just add, Paul, that a couple things have changed when in going through the hub application and that entire process. There was significant community engagement specific to determining requirements for such a facility. So that process has provided us with more information since the 2015 recreational master plan was put together. Another significant change is recently Norfolk has made some significant decisions with regards to some of its recreational facilities and the potential paths forward with them, whether that's closing arenas, relocating senior center, looking to other private-public partnerships, etc. That is all new information and new direction since the 2015 plan was authored. So in revisiting that plan, whether it's an update or a full refresh, there's a new reality that we have today compared to 2015. So all of that is worth considering when reviewing what was finished in 2015.
Sue, do you have anything to add?
I'd have to agree with everyone, what we're all saying. We need to go back to the drawing board.
Okay.
I would also add that I know a number of members of our committee. I think everyone probably feels that with a lot of the changes which have been made recently, and that relates to the hub as well as just recreational facilities and programming. Many user groups have been looking for stronger engagement with Norfolk County to understand programming needs and what is available and what regular operations look like. And through reviewing and updating the recreational master plan, that would allow for that type of engagement as part of the process.
How do you guys feel about having something like a quarterly or semi-annual engagement meeting, a public meeting where interested parties or teams had a forum to come engage the future RFAB?
I think that could possibly be accommodated through a recreational master plan update in figuring out exactly what that process looks like. And undoubtedly, that process would require community engagement. So I think perhaps that could be included within whatever that structure looks like in rolling out an update.
Okay. All right. I think Amy was talking earlier about a motion at this point to see if county staff can provide us with some numbers on the expenses already spent since 2015 on the facilities in question, to try and baseline what it's cost us to get to where we are here now. Can I have a proposed wording for that motion?
Sure.
I wonder, Jacob, if we can just provide some direction on an action item list to staff. I don't know if staff will think that that's suitable, but I think it certainly will be faster than passing a motion that council needs to pull from the minutes and then address. I'm not sure if that's suitable, if that's something that Mr. Cridlin can do and just provide to RFAB in a memo, but is there a way to just quickly rewind since the 215 master plan came out, what repairs concerning recreation have occurred and what the total is, maybe a bit of an itemized list on those?
I can certainly forward it on to him and see what he says. Absolutely, if that's the wishes of the board.
If it's a massive undertaking for him and he needs the direction, then I think what the board is saying is they're happy to pass a motion, but I wonder if that's something he can just pull up and look through the budget and provide in an information memo. The sooner that it can bounce back, the better.
I can certainly check with him. I'm not sure exactly what he would be looking at, but I can certainly check with him and see what he feels would be best and quickest, obviously, for him to get the information to the board.
What if we passed a motion to this effect, and then if it can be handled otherwise by Bill and his department, then that would be great. And if he can't quickly do that without the direction of a motion, then the motion could still carry forward to council.
That sounds good.
I would
Good.
propose a motion that at the request of RFAB, Norfolk County staff prepare a detailed account of capital expenditures and repairs on Norfolk's recreational facilities from the time of the 2015 recreational master plan to current.
Jacob, you just let us know when you're finished typing that out or you're ready to carry on.
Okay, Gord, I did get most of that. The one part I just fell behind on a little bit, that you had Norfolk County staff prepare a detailed account of capital expenditures
And repairs.
of Norfolk County facilities from the time of the 2015 master plan until today, basically.
Yep.
And just the recreational facilities, not all facilities.
Correct. Yeah. Okay, just give me 1 second and I will firm this up.
Okay. I like that motion because there wasn't a where to for or a whereas.
I like that as well. Mr. Chair, would you like me to read this motion?
Yes, please.
That at the request of RFAB, that Norfolk County staff prepare a detailed account of capital expenditures and repairs of Norfolk County recreational facilities from the time of the 2015 master plan until present day.
That sounds good to me. Can I have a second?
Me. Oh,
Oh, gotcha, Sue. All in favor?
Yes.
I,
The ayes
Yes.
carry. Is there any more issue that we need to carry on with item 5A on? Going once, twice. Okay, 5B, the update from staff on council membership selection. Amy, I think you might have to act as a proxy here and give us a quick update where we stand on the RFAB membership.
Yeah, it has not come forward to council at all. So I have heard that it's receiving a lot of good feedback in the community, and there's lots of applications coming in. But I do not know when it's set to come forward. That would be, yeah, I think Jacob probably would know through the clerk's office. Nothing has come to council yet.
Okay, Jacob, you got your hand up. Go ahead. Give us the story. I don't see Jacob's hand anymore, but I don't hear Jacob either. So
Sorry, Mr. Speaker, I was on, or Mr. Chair, rather, sorry, I was muted. If I may, I could just provide you a quick update that the applications all came through the clerk's department for the various boards that were seeking members, and RFAB was one of the most popular boards that people were looking to join, and all of those applications have been sent forward to Bill Cridlin to be looked at, and then from that point he and his staff will put together a outline of who has applied, and then it will go to council for Councillor Martin and her colleagues to vote upon and decide the formation of the roster going forward.
Very good. Thank you. Any questions,
Can I
Emma?
just, yes,
Yep.
it's Kim. I have a question. Do we have a timeline as to when that could be happening, Jacob?
I haven't heard directly through you, Mr. Chair. I haven't heard directly when that will be, but I've been told it will likely be within the next a few weeks to a couple of months. My assumption would be they'll want something before council before the end of the year.
Okay, thank you very much.
Amy?
Thank you. Jacob, so it's safe to say that staff will be vetting the list?
I believe that's the case. From the little bit that I saw, there were a number of really good candidates. But yes, I would assume that if there are any that cause concern, that they would be vetted throughout the process.
Okay, that's interesting. I just didn't know if that was normal procedure or if it should come right to council, but I can ask Andy that. Thank you.
No problem.
Kim, I'm sorry we didn't notice your letters behind you. Just for the
That's
record, no disclosure of pecuniary interest for you?
No, none.
Fantastic. We'll carry on then. So we're into the retention of knowledge discussion. Ian brought this up as a potential item here, and I thought it was a good idea. If we're going to be changing over RFAB membership, we probably want to try and pass along what knowledge we can. Ian, did you have any proposed means of doing this?
Well, obviously there are a couple. One is long-term, where membership rotates out of committees or boards like this. That way you always have somebody in there that is familiar with what's been going on for the last year or two. The other thing is basically make an assumption that none of us were chosen to what would that mean in terms of all the time and effort to the new members to take on what we have learned ourselves over these many months, actually 2 years or more. And I think that from that standpoint, that's critical, because I think it's important whenever you're into a long-term process that there can't be all of a sudden things stop and then you got a whole new group moving ahead, more or less with the same direction. And it is not beneficial, in my opinion, to lose track of all of that information and knowledge base that has been accrued by the current membership. Anyways, it's a thought. It's not the end of the world one way or the other, but I thought I'd better raise it.
Well, that's a good point. I'm not sure how much benefit my book of knowledge will serve, but I've kept all the minutes, all the decisions, all our confidential briefs on the land selection. All of that has kind of been in a large book that I have carried with me to all of our meetings. So I'm more than happy to hand that over to the next chair. Amy. Oh, sorry.
Yep, go ahead. If Kim,
go ahead. I can't see your hand.
Okay, sorry. I just wanted to add that typically there isn't usually a complete 100% turnover of a group that's part of a committee. So in one regards, I think we're safe that there will be carriers of the information that's occurred over the last 2 years. If there was a complete turnover, that would be something that was pretty unprecedented in the history of our committee.
Okay. Amy?
I was just going to add that when you're milling over the whole terms of reference, that maybe you've been granted the great honor of creating your own terms of reference, which is also not normal protocol, that maybe you work that in there, that you think that there should be staggered appointments and turnover, or a longer position to be held by the chair, or an alternate position. But I think you've got the blessing and the curse of creating your own terms of reference. It's a really great point, and I would just work it into the terms of reference.
Yeah, that's a good point. We could act like the U.S. Senate and have elections every 2 years, or every for half of the group or something. Yeah, that would be a good idea moving forward. Do we have any other discussion on this at this point? Okay, we'll move on to the terms of reference moving forward discussion. Ian, I think you were the appointed it man for coming forward with some terms of reference changes. How's the drafting coming?
Well, good, I think. Between Amy, Gordon, myself, we've back and forth with wording, and Gord actually today submitted a consolidated motion to consider, and the terms of reference are in there, and a number of other things. And maybe from that standpoint, Gord may be better to comment on that at the time.
Sure.
The motion?
No, yeah, absolutely. I think that there has been amongst some various conversations a perspective gain that this committee, this board, needs to take a step back with Norfolk County, given the unsuccessful application for hub funding. And as we discussed, the 2015 Recreational Master Plan gaining some age currently is to basically reassess where we are as a community in terms of our programming, in terms of our capital needs, and see if this group, this board, can assist council in really refreshing where we are now and what is the best strategy and path to go forward with. And that would involve an engagement with community members, with user groups, reviewing the 2015 Recreational Master Plan, seeing what's relevant, what needs to be updated, and taking that perspective rather than a specific facility mandate, which we started out with the hub being the specific mandate, is to walk with council and the community down that path to submitting an application for hub funding. So with that now no longer with us and absent a solid plan for moving forward, is we would take a step back and have a larger view and larger engagement to reset the plan going forward to see what is the best strategy for Norfolk County with all of its rec facilities. And so with that in mind and that kind of shared view, we jointly penciled out some ideas. Jacob, you mentioned that you could pull something up on screen. I don't mind maybe reading the draft that we currently have, and then I could also perhaps flip it to you by email if you're able to put that up. Would that be workable?
Please do.
Okay. I'm going to email it to you now, then I can read through a copy of what I have. Okay.
No pressure, Gord.
So you should be getting it, Jacob, but I can start reading what I have. So in the preamble, whereas Norfolk County was unsuccessful in its first attempt to receive provincial and federal funding to proceed with a new multi-use recreational facility, and whereas Norfolk County Council has not formally adopted an alternative recreational facility repair or replacement plan, and whereas Norfolk County has undertaken irreversible steps to eliminate and or repurpose recreational facilities, and whereas the Recreational Facilities Advisory Board is seeking to discover meaningful solutions to Norfolk's recreational facility challenges to ensure the maintenance and enhancement of Norfolk's recreational programming service levels, RFAB recommends that the current RFAB be renamed the Recreational Advisory Board, and that the mandate of RAB be amended to, and then the bullet points there, engage with community users and make recommendations related to the state of recreational programs and facilities and their ability to satisfy community recreational needs, to make recommendations regarding the education of the community on recreational issues, and to work in concert with county staff to undertake a scoping exercise of the 2015 Norfolk County Recreational Master Plan, and to make recommendations as to the applicability of the plan to meet current and long-term recreational needs, and the rationale and benefits for updating the 2015 Recreational Master Plan or undertaking a new master plan to provide council with reliable and current information for council's decisions going forward. We'll open that for discussion.
Jacob, could you add a need to rational? Do I have a seconder for that motion?
I will. Yeah.
Okay. Can we open the floor for discussion? Any discussion on this motion? That's a lot of words, so take your time to read it through.
Well, from my perspective, Mr. Chair, I think it speaks to the need for a more strategic approach to moving forward and utilizing what we have already available. And from my perspective, I think that starting with the 2015 master plan and the related feasibility study and so forth is an excellent starting point. And I think if it's done right, council will have far better information on which to make decisions going forth. And I think, as Gord or others have mentioned earlier, the public engagement process, that's going to be renewed if we follow this direction. And I think that that's also important because that should be an ongoing process. And if we make comparisons between what is happening now and what was actually recommended in the 2015 report, which you got to remember was predicated on considerable engagement with the community. And it would be interesting to find out how much is actually still in sync now relative to what was presented or recommended in those particular documents. So that's a start in terms of my comments.
That's a good rebaseline. The one thing I did note myself when I read through that is that we didn't make reference in that last bullet to the feasibility study or the situational analysis in addition to the master recreational plan. And I think those two documents, although there's a great deal of overlap in the background amongst the three documents, those two documents do offer some other good information that should be updated as well.
Yeah, I think, again, from my perspective, when I was doing it over the last few days, I was taking into account all three, and perhaps you're right. The reference should be more specific other than just simply referring to the 2015 master plan. It should include the other two documents as well.
Can we make that a formal amendment to the motion then?
Perhaps right after the mention of the last bullet point of the 2015 Norfolk County Recreational Master Plan, then in brackets it can say including, or as well as and including then those other two documents, the feasibility and the other document.
Yeah, the feasibility study and the situational analysis, Jacob. If we could maybe include that in, do we need to have a formal vote on the amendment of that motion? I guess not. We haven't passed it or anything yet.
That's correct. You're allowed to, you're able to change that motion and then vote on it after that.
Okay, can you just pull up your screen again with those two changes then, Jacob, please?
Yes, just updating it now. Sorry, Gord, just to double check through you, Mr. Chair, do we have the dates for the feasibility study? And was it the feasibility study and then the situational study as well? Did you want the dates?
Yeah, the feasibility study was 2014 and published in 2015, and the situational analysis was 2015. Sue and Kim, do you need us to reread the final bullet there?
No, I'm good, thanks.
I'm good.
Okay. Is there any further discussion on the proposal?
I'm not sure if you have to get the concurrence of the mover and seconder for any friendly amendments, but if so, that's fine by me.
We were here.
I would move it.
We were here last week.
Okay, so Ian, it's up to you.
To move or seconded?
I think
Just,
to okay the change.
Yeah, just to assent to the change there.
Yeah, I consent.
Okay, I think, oh, Amy, go.
No changes, I guess just a comment. There's some discussion to add. I really like how the conversation is changing with the language about services. Before we were heavily focused on infrastructure, and now we're changing a bit of the mandate to include services, and I think that's important because the services run from one end of the county to the other. When we talk about infrastructure, we drill down to specific wards, specific communities, who gets what and who doesn't get what. But the one consistent thing from one end of Norfolk County to the other is services. Hockey occurs the same way in Langton that it does in Port Dover. So I think, with a service forward approach, that this group is going to be able to really connect and align with everyone in every community, no matter where we are. And that's the one thing that's going to keep community together. It's going to keep us focused on the issues. And if that manifests into a bigger, bolder, better facility somewhere in this county, then great. But if our baseline is maintenance of our existing service levels with the hope to only grow bigger and better and offer more, then I think we're going to be in a good spot here. So I really like that's a new focus.
Okay. Are we prepared to vote on this, or is there any further comment? All in favor of the motion as read?
Aye.
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 Yep.
Aye.
The ayes all have it. Any nays? There's no nays. Okay. I think what you were saying there, Amy, might have been a good segue into another motion that Gord had been talking about proposing.
Yep.
Gord,
Yeah,
the
thought being that if this approach and this mandate is going to be undertaken by the committee and by Norfolk County, which is to really get a refreshed look of planning of the recreational master plan, etc. We're taking a lot of steps that we have recently anyway with regards to our recreational facilities, and we potentially could be in the short term, which it may not be known whether those will eventually align with an updated plan in any way. Are these going to mesh with the best strategy for Norfolk County? So the thinking is that we should recommend to council that Norfolk County limit any spend on recreational capital infrastructure until such time as a new plan and strategy is developed, so that we're not misspending any dollars that we would regret later. So I do have a motion here that I can put forward. All right, Jacob is ready. It's not as long as the last.
Sounds good. I'm ready.
Okay. Put forward the motion that RFAB recommends that until such time as Norfolk County completes or updates its recreational master plan, Norfolk County Council directs staff to limit all Norfolk County recreational facility capital expenditures and repairs that are not directly related to sustaining regular service levels.
I'm ready when you are, Mr. Chair.
Okay, why don't you throw that motion up on the screen and we'll just have a quick breeze through it.
Okay, just allow me to clean it up a little bit here. I've got a few short forms so I could stay right with Gord there.
Sure, no worries. Amy, go ahead.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Just a question to the mover. Do you want that to include even the most recent 2020 capital budget that has been discussed but is not presently affirmed yet?
Absolutely. I think that'd be wise. I know even in the short term, whether it's for this year or the upcoming 2 years, there are significant dollars on things like dressing room updates that are millions of dollars. I believe there's that $11 million item for, I know I wasn't in the discussion, so I don't know all, but you alluded to perhaps a completely new pool somewhere, and how that all aligns to a possible refresh strategy and updated view for our needs for both services and facilities. We really don't know. So I would be cautious as council to move hard in the direction and spend a lot of money before knowing if that's the right direction.
Right. So as an example here, I know you don't have this budget in front of you, nor were you privy to budget, or do I expect that this committee was, this volunteer board was watching budget? But as an example, you know, in our capital repairs, we've got $100,000, you know, next year for a compressor in the Waterford Arena. If there isn't a master plan developed by such time, and that means that the arena isn't going to function, obviously this board, it would recommend that that repair goes on, and the facilities, the doors stay open, the ice stays cold, and the skaters are on the ice. But I know that in the year to come, we're looking at $1.4 million for seating repairs in Talbot. Something like that. Is that, am I spot on by suggesting you would not recommend something like that go forward until such time as the plan's developed?
I believe so. If the county's going to be spending $1 million plus on something where we don't know if that facility is going to be earmarked for potential replacement within a handful of years, I think we should hold with what we have until we make those decisions.
Right, and furthermore, that doesn't affect opening the doors or keeping the ice cold on the facility. Okay, all right, understood. Right. Thank you.
Okay, can I have a seconder for Gord's motion?
I will second that.
Okay, Sue, you've got the second, and any further discussion on that motion?
That was Kim who seconded it.
I'm sorry.
I guess my only question would be one for Jacob. When would we look roughly to see these minutes come forward to a council meeting? My concern is that they don't come forward before the break, and then we affirm the budget, the capital plan, and then
through you, for the chair, as far as I know, I could get these on our next council agenda, because we are always adding in the clerk's department, as you know, minutes from different groups. And so I'll do my best to have it in front of council as soon as possible.
Thank you.
I would also note, Amy, and just see everyone's feedback in terms of thoughts. In addition to keeping the compressors on or the lights on or whatever, maintaining current service levels, I believe the budget also envisions expansion of services, and I'm thinking specifically to the Simcoe Rec Center. And there's certainly money that needs to be spent to accommodate the seniors moving in. But in addition to that, I believe there is hundreds of thousands of dollars to be spent for expanded programming in the old arena facility, et cetera, without knowing whether or not there's a long-term vision for that facility as currently being discussed. Council may want to consider careful spend there beyond just what is necessary.
Right, that's, am I muted here? That's a great point through you, Mr. Chair. 2020 and prior, $140,000 spent at the Simcoe Rec Center conversion to adult community center, with $250,000 in the capital budget for the 2021 year. And I don't know, unless Councillor Huffman can chime in here. I don't know the specifics of what that service level represents to the community.
I would like to add that it's been extremely vague in terms of the knowledge that council has in terms of the long-term plans of that facility and the services that would be provided for the public, for the population at large. We have not been made privy of that information.
Yeah, that's a very interesting question. You know, what percentage of the senior population of the entire county is getting in using that facility? We should know some kind of demographic information before we do any recommending of any large scale expenditures there.
Chair, I would also suggest that if we're taking this step back in this larger view, if council itself isn't aware of what these expenditures may represent, and I know what there was a view for some multi-purposing of that facility beyond seniors utilization, I think that'd be a great opportunity for this committee and the public at large to be engaged to discuss what is being put in there in terms of dollars spent for what programming.
Maybe that's sorry, through you, Mr. Chair, a motion, just as we did prior with other spendings from 2015 to present. Maybe that's a request to Mr. Cridland's office for a detailed memo of what the funds are contributing to, not because we're checking in on what staff's doing, but because we're avoiding overlap. We're now focused on services and who's providing what where. So maybe that's a motion someone wants to move, that Mr. Cridland provide details to this board concerning the price, capital expenditures, and what service level is associated with those. And maybe again, motion to council if it needs to be, but if not, great. It can come in a memo.
Well, I was hoping, you know, this discussion has at least two of the councillors on it, which is good. But if we have to remind all of council to do that due diligence, then I think we should put together that motion. I had one other comment about the motion, though, as it stood. The second last word was regular there, and for the regular service levels, I guess third last word. I'm just wondering if there's any room for interpretation as to what regular is in the age of COVID-19. Are we talking about current service levels or pre-COVID-19 service levels? What is a regular service level in the age of COVID-19?
So when I was putting the motion forward, I envisioned pre-COVID service levels being regular service levels. But, that was where my mind was at.
Does anybody have an objection to amending that motion that way then, to say to pre-COVID-19 service levels?
No, I support that wording of in the motion, because I think that makes the most sense.
Amy, did you have your hand up, or are you good? Good, okay. Sue, any comment?
No, I agree that we have to look at pre-COVID for sure. And we have to look at all of our services in Norfolk County. And I agree with everything being said. Thank you.
Okay, and do we have a seconder for that motion?
I'll
I
second.
second it.
Oh, Ian beat you to the punch there.
Mr. Chair, I was gonna ask for a potential another amendment, and that was just for clarification, was that it refers only to the recreational master plan. It should really insert 2015 so that there is no ambiguity there.
Sounds good.
I agree. Jacob, if you'll throw 2015 in unless somebody objects. I think the less ambiguity, the better.
That's been added, Mr. Chair.
Okay, Jacob, if you'll pull that motion up, we'll have one more final round of discussion, and then we can vote. Okay, and
I think perhaps sorry, I should just read that RFAB recommends that until such time as Norfolk County completes a new recreational master plan or updates.
Yeah, I noticed that.
Perfect.
And actually, perhaps it should be the updates come first, followed by a new recreational plan.
yeah, yeah. That looks good. And I see that Jacob is anticipating this being carried. So just, we'll have any further discussion? No? All in favor?
Aye.
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 Yep.
And
Aye.
there we go. I think that was a unanimous ayes. Any nays? No nays? Good. All right. Composition of RFAB moving forward. This was something that we were discussing just, I wasn't going for individual people when I brought this up for discussion. I was actually kind of thinking about the desire of some of our councillors to limit council participation on the Recreational Advisory Board. Do we have any thoughts on what the composition should be like in the future?
Mr. Chair, from my perspective, and I have reviewed over the last couple of weeks, recreational advisory committees in many municipalities in the province. And it varies in terms of membership, some as much as 13, 15. But having said that, I think it's important, if we're going to go through this process and council does adopt what we've recommended, that the representation from other parts of the community, so we got a broader base for representation, be included in the committee. So obviously that would likely go well beyond 5 public members. It might certainly be much more. So I think, consideration should be given to that, because this is, I think if we go through the process, to me, it's a good educational process for the whole community. And the more people you're engaged in that process, and I don't mean just, contacting individuals by email or surveys or so forth. I'm talking about key people that would sit and interact with each other on the RFAB or board, to move the whole process along.
I agree. Do you have any idea as to whether you would select them geographically or by athletic endeavor or recreational endeavor, or what are you thinking in terms of that diversity?
Well, I think the diversity likely goes beyond just the recreational aspects, but with the main focus being recreational. Geographically, it should be dispersed, and obviously some of the many user groups. There's a lot of user groups out there. Everybody who's impacted, whose lifestyle is impacted by this. I can't give you a lot of specifics, but I think it just needs more thought as to how that can be expanded. But again, that comes down again to the question of council themselves having to select what the board membership is going to be like going forward.
Well, right now we have 11. If we recommended, I like the odd numbers for some reason, but 13 or 15, I guess maybe it's easier to make a call. But let's say we settled on 13. How many of those would you recommend be council seats or ex officio seats for the mayor? And how many seats would be the regular citizenry?
Are you asking me?
I'm asking anybody.
Oh, okay. Well, again, and I'm only saying this with respect to the reviews that I've done over the last couple of weeks of across various municipal jurisdictions in the province. And I was hard pressed to find a committee or board, advisory board, that had 5 council members. They were always less for whatever reason. I don't, but anyway, that's just a comment on what I found. But I think it's important that we get as much interchange and engagement, even at the committee level. And I think an expanded group would be helpful in the long run.
Amy.
Through you, Mr. Chair, I just wanted to add that there was discussion at the council table that the demographics of the RFAB committee be more geographical. There was discussion about that, and that just occurred a couple weeks ago. And if I'm not mistaken, and Councillor Martin can chime in here as well, I think there was also some discussion about reducing the number of council members on the RFAB committee, that 5 was probably too many.
Okay.
This is Gordon here through the chair. I would also echo some of those sentiments, and I've heard them before from certain council members that, in particular, regardless of whether the total number is reduced or not, but some representation from the west end of the county would be, I think, beneficial to the committee in terms of councilor representation.
Yeah, specifically because the chair, he lives on the west end and he's just terrible at advocating. My only comments were going to be, yes, same as Councillor Huffman, that there was a discussion about spreading us out a little bit more throughout, the county and reduction of council members. But really, I do think it's important to know when we look at our composition, unless I'm missing anyone here, we've got, without giving out your specific addresses, Simcoe, Sue, Gord, and JJ, who has now resigned. Waterford, Ian, I believe, right? Waterford? Yes. And Councillor Huffman, which makes 2. Paul, you're out in, I want to say Rowan-ish, I think. Langton was Chris. And then we had, obviously, council representation. I'm in Port Dover. Ryan and Ian are both in Simcoe, and the mayor in Port Dover as well. But I think we also need to look at, the council members that are showing up. Very rarely do we have all of our council members here. So all things considered, Simcoe has 2 representatives and everywhere else really does have 1. But we need those members to show up and also advocate and voice their concerns in their neck of the woods as well. So I don't think that we're really heavily focused on one area of the county over another. Simcoe has a larger population. JJ's just stepped down, but we can do better. So I think that there's room for improvement and expanding and including other people. But yeah, I'm open to hear your suggestions, specifically concerning council members and the makeup of that. Again, your blessing and curse with the terms of reference. If you want to make any additional suggestions or amendments, you can do that in the composition here included into a terms of reference amendment.
How exactly was council looking for these terms of reference from us in terms of a motion or just a deliverable from the RFAB? What was the expectation there?
I don't really know, to be honest. I'm assuming just something that they would probably, that the clerk's office would probably give to council, and then we would amend or adopt when we look at adding new members. But I don't entirely know, because it's not normal procedure for you to make your own terms of reference.
Yeah. Well, we'll work on it. We'll have a working group putting that together, and then we'll get it sent out, hopefully as a deliverable in the very near future.
Through the chair, I think we passed the motion with regards to terms of reference, and even if these comments could be carried through to council discussion through the two councillors in this meeting, I think that would be helpful, because as much as we may want to make suggestions with regards to councillor numbers or geographical representation, there also needs to be that commitment and interest to participating and to being engaged with the committee. So I think there has to be a balance, and that can be an individual consideration as well, rather than mandating anything too structured back to council.
Okay, that's fair enough. Any further discussion items?
Through the chair, we were discussing a few moments ago with regards to putting together a motion/request for some details with regards to the envisioned spend at the Simcoe Rec Center in the current capital budget, and for any such details to be shared with our board and council. I don't have the particular wording for that, but I think we discussed it, but overlooked actually putting something down on that.
You're right. Amy?
Maybe specifically, we want to include the spending of $140,000 and $250,000 respectively, so that it's produced in a bit of an itemized way, so that we can see what these changes are going to represent in service levels as well, or in existing capital expenditures. And by that, I mean, if the roof was needing to be repaired anyways, is that included in the 250,000, or is that above scheduled for that building to change or improve or potentially decrease services? So in 2020, 140,000, in 2021, 250,000. Jacob? Or Mover?
I can attempt, this is Gordon here, through the chair, to put forward a motion that RFAB request from Norfolk County staff a detail of the 2019 Simcoe Recreation Center spend of $140,000 and the 2020 budgeted spend of $250,000. As well as insight into the programming related thereto. I don't think that's very good, but it's something you guys can start with.
Yeah, we'll pull it up on the screen and see what it looks like. I feel bad for doing Tim.
That's okay. I'm concentrating, following along.
Jacob, when you have something drafted, if you'll just pull it up on the screen there, that would be great. I'll just read that aloud for Sue and Kim here, that our FAB request from Norfolk County staff, a detail of the 2019 Simcoe Recreation Center spend of $140,000 and 2020 budgeted spend of $250,000, as well as insight into the programs related to these expenditures.
Okay.
Is programs the right word there into the
Recreational programming.
I think, for lack of a better term, because we don't know what the plans are for the rec center other than the senior center moving in there. We don't know what the vision is.
right? Can I have a seconder for that motion?
I'll second it.
Ian, good on you. Okay, discussion?
No.
Okay, we'll vote then. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Yep.
Aye.
Aye.
Yes.
Anybody count that I said aye twice? Any nays? Okay, carried. Next on the agenda is the adjournment. Can I have a motion to adjourn the meeting?
I will.
And can I have a seconder?
I'll second
I'll
it.
second that.
Any discussion? I hope not. Okay, all in favor of
I
adjourning?
do have one thing to say.
Oh, I'm sorry, go ahead.
The only thing I would like to say is that whatever happens with this committee, I just want to say that this has been a pleasure working with everyone around this table for the betterment of Norfolk County.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Thank you, too.
Any other discussion items? All in favor?
Aye.
Vote to adjourn.
Aye.
Aye. You guys have it. Sorry, nays. Next meeting will be the 7th of December, 2020. Happy Pearl Harbor Day.
Actually, before you exit, I know that in sending forward applications for the new term, it was noted that successful applicants will be notified. I was wondering, through you, Chair, to Jacob, if perhaps out of courtesy for those that are not selected, if they could be still advised that a new committee membership has been selected.
I'll handle that one. I'll make sure that we get the proper staff notifications out to everybody.
Very good.
All right. Thanks, everyone.
Bye.
Okay,
Bye-bye.
thank you. All right.